So I got COVID. I wasn't gonna make this video and I didn't try to get COVID, but a few of my friends were genuinely curious about what it was like, the process, so I thought it might be good to share my experience. So here goes nothing. I'm a 21-year-old male. I've had one dose of Pfizer and I have my second one coming up in a few weeks. I live in Maryland, which is a huge suburb of concern. In fact, it's one of the worst. So how did I get it? I'm not actually sure. None of my family members have it, which means I must have gotten it, and I go out for two reasons. It's one, for a daily morning walk where I am wearing a mask, and two, for an outdoors run, which I don't wear a mask. Now, I think I got it at Granville Park. I only started running at Granville Park recently, and I noticed that the footpath was actually really narrow. On one occasion, I remember there was this person who was walking by smoking, and I remember running past him and coughing because I'd taken up the smoke and it was, kind of nasty. And so I was like, oh crap, there's a lot of foot traffic in Granville Park. The footpath is quite narrow, and I passed by a lot of people. So I'm thinking that that's where I got it, and the timelines sort of do match. So yeah, if you are out running, I guess, make sure to run in a space where there aren't that many people, because even running, you can get COVID from. So how did I feel? Throughout the first week of COVID, I kept up a journal. You can see it here. I'll try to show it over there. Yeah, just a disclaimer. I was fortunate enough not to go to the hospital. Now I know getting COVID is very different for different people. And again, I am super thankful and lucky to have gotten away with just normal flu symptoms. I first got symptoms at night. So I remember the night before I got tested, I couldn't sleep. And I remember it was because I had a fever and I kept tossing in my bed. I was extremely hot. And when I woke up, I just felt terrible. At first, I thought it might just be the lack of sleep, but I had a pulsing headache as well. So when I felt those symptoms, the fever and the headache, I decided to go get tested in that morning. I went to get tested, came back from the test and basically couldn't do anything because I just felt terrible. I spent that first day just entirely in bed because I had no energy to, again, do anything. At that point, I thought I might have just gotten the flu because it was bad, but it wasn't terrible. I went to bed thinking I had just gotten the flu, and that night's sleep was absolutely horrible. I remember sweating a lot in my sleep and basically barely being able to sleep. I had to keep drinking warm water, and my throat was dying. And again, I woke up the next day just with a pulsing headache. By day 2, it had already gotten slightly better. My headache wasn't as bad as the day before. Now again, I still had to nap or sleep twice throughout the day because I felt terrible. But by day 2, it was already slowly starting to get better. I recovered quite fast. By day 4 or 5, I felt almost myself. Again, they were just mild symptoms, coughing up phlegm, blowing my nose, and having a sore throat. I just drank a copious amount of warm water with honey and lemon, and that's, I guess, slowly helped ease those symptoms. One of the symptoms that is also, I guess, more serious that I, again, was thankful not to get was the loss of my taste and smell. So luckily, throughout my COVID period, I still was able to smell, to taste, and my appetite remained roughly the same. Now, I also want to share a bit about what actually happens when you get COVID. Because obviously, you get COVID, it's not just you. People, call you, they need to check up on you. They need to make sure that, if you have very serious symptoms, that you do go to hospital. But for most cases, most people can actually, I guess, get better within their own homes. So I remember the day I got my test result, one of the doctors who, I guess, managed the testing facility basically informed you that, you've just tested positive for COVID. You need to start making sure that, you self-isolate, and they check up on how serious your symptoms are. From day 4, I got a daily well-being call, and basically it's just someone who calls you and checks up on how you're going. They ask a bunch of questions, things like, have you been having diarrhea? Have you had your temperature checked? Are you short of breath? Do you have chest pain? Things like that. One thing I guess that was quite interesting was they actually ask a lot of questions about your mental health. Things like, are you coping with lockdown? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel safe? I guess a big part of self-isolation, in addition to, dealing with the physical COVID symptoms, is actually dealing with isolating or having gotten COVID. I can say that, even though my symptoms weren't terrible, that the hardest part of all this for me was definitely having to self-isolate in my bedroom for 2 weeks. I live in an apartment, it's quite small, my family doesn't have it, which means that, again, I can't freely just go to the kitchen or the balcony. I really have to just stay in my room. So my mom had to take work off and had to, I guess, look after me and basically deliver food and anything else I needed outside my door. And what would happen would just be, I'd open my door, take the food, or take whatever's needed, and then close the door and not speak to anyone. I'll link a few pictures of the food my mum made. Great food. Thank you, Mum. Even in lockdown, something that kept me sane was going on my daily morning walks, going for a run. And not being able to do that was actually extremely difficult. Anyways, a bunch of other people call you as well. On day 7, I started getting calls from the police. And when I first picked up, I was like, wait, what? Like, who's this? And then they were like, okay, cool. Hey, I am a police officer. We need you to come outside to your balcony so we can check that you're actually self-isolating. And I was like, oh crap, they're actually making sure that, people are in fact in their homes. Yep, I just walked to my balcony, waved to the police officer, and they were like, cool, okay, we're back. This happened multiple times, and so yeah, you do need to make sure you're home. I live in an apartment, so I remember after having myself checked off, I remember the police officer actually calling other people in the apartment because, well, I live in Maryland and multiple people in my apartment complex actually got COVID. Yeah, I know, wonderful, right? I guess also what was really nice was that they really make sure to take care of you and that you're looked after. So if you are struggling with, let's say, food or groceries or other essentials, they can put you in contact with social workers who are able to alleviate some of those strenuous tasks. Something else that they offer that's quite interesting is also health hotels, which is basically accommodation for you to self-isolate. I would have gone, but thankfully I have my own bathroom. If I didn't have my own bathroom, I think I definitely would have applied. Obviously, they need to prioritize who can actually go. So if you are living in a space that's small, where you are sharing facilities like the bathroom, then you're on a higher priority list. As you approach your final day of isolation, you actually, you're not just free to leave, you actually have to be discharged. So a discharge team will call you and basically make sure that you are good to, I guess, enter society again. So what actually happens is that because they're so overwhelmed, you're actually normally discharged like on day 16, day 15. COVID in Sydney is actually getting really bad and the health teams are just completely overwhelmed. Something I actually wasn't even contacted for was contact tracing. When I got out, the cases were in the the hundreds, so it was already climbing steeply. So yeah, the information that you get on the sites about, I guess, latest locations that have COVID are just way out of date because they physically can't keep track of where everyone is or where they've been. My hypothesis is that they do contact tracing, but only really in new LGAs of concern. So again, I'm from Maryland, and a number of people in Maryland already have it. So I guess it's not as important as them to do contact tracing for Maryland as it is a suburb which has no COVID or just got their new first case of COVID, because in Maryland it's kind of screwed up already. Which does suck because I remember the day before I got symptoms, I actually went to pick up food from a restaurant, and looking back on it, I had just gotten COVID the day after, and the interaction I had wasn't recorded, and well, yeah, the COVID definitely could have spread there. So that was my spiel about getting COVID in Sydney, Australia. Sort of all over the place. I definitely rambled and ranted. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. I'll get to answering them. Thanks for watching.